now today we also have Andrew Garcia joining us. So remember the drill, chat. The first 5 minutes is for us to do troubleshooting and just testing that everything is working fine. So tell us if the audio is working. I'll have Brandon and Angel introduce themselves and say hi to you, so you can also confirm that their audio is coming out fine. Tell us if you can see us moving with no problem. How about the camera qualities? So yeah, what have you guys been up to this week?
Oh, I mean, good week, busy week. We've got a lot of non-work stuff going on around me here in California. We've got a bunch of wildfires going on, and I just bought a house about a month ago, and my brand new house is about 10 miles away from these wildfires. So,
oh my God,
you're safe at least.
Yeah, we're safe. So nothing to worry about. At least nothing to worry about immediately. But yeah, wishing the best for everybody, all my new neighbors and the folks nearby, the firefighters, and from where I am, it's just dealing with the air quality. There's a lot of smoke in the air. The AQI has been up in the 500s this week, so
oh my God,
not a great time, but we'll get through it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, sounds less boring than my week. At least you got some action from you. Here in Spain, well, in Zaragoza, it's raining all the week. So working from home, just going to the supermarket. That's my week. So we got Brian in the chat. Brian, can you confirm us if we're looking good, smooth?
Yeah, let me go ahead and start sharing. The link in our social media that we are now live, so people can start coming in, and let's give them like 5 more minutes so they can join and log into the live stream. Let's see. Let me go to Twitter.
Come on, Brian. We know you there.
We're seeing you. We are now live at
Man, Luis, I'm pretty excited to get this, or to start working on this new UI.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think people are really gonna like the new features.
Yeah, I mean, I know I will, and it's something I want. So
yeah.
nothing else will have one happy customer.
Yep. Well, 2. I'm eager to have this also in the app.
There we go. 2 happy customers. Done.
Ship it. So
yeah,
let's see. Let me go to the chat. Okay, we have 1 viewer. I put it on Twitter. What else do we need? Oh, we need Instagram as well. Let me do a little boomerang here. Where's the StreamYard? Here. Man, this social media stuff is hard. I don't know how people do it. Like posting in all the accounts and everything. Let's see.
Yeah, you either spend way too much time doing it, or you hire somebody else to do it for you.
Yeah.
Like most like celebrities that are active on social media have some sort of team or PR team. Even like during the presidential debate the other night, like both Joe Biden and Trump were tweeting from their accounts while they were live on stage. It's like, hey, wait a minute.
Like, what's happening here?
I know you didn't type that.
Yeah, it's a really time-consuming thing to do, and just like getting the arts you need and the sizes you need them. Creating a caption, and you're like start getting creative about the caption. Like, which emoji should I put here? Which hashtag should I use? Yeah.
We have Lester. We have Lester already in the chat, so he's the one gonna tell us if we are doing right in the streaming.
Lester.
How's everything look?
Yeah, he's one of the loyal attendees as well. He's always here on Friday. Hey Lester, welcome to the live stream. Remember the drill. Tell us how the quality is. If you can hear us fine, if you can hear Angel and Brandon as well, and our camera quality, and then we can get started. Let me also put it on LinkedIn and Facebook, and we should be good.
Yeah. You know what?
Here.
You just inspired me with all this Friday talk. I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let me put it on the WhatsApp groups as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay. There. There's Xamarin.
All right.
Live coding.
Much better.
Oh, welcome back.
Lester.
And we can promote Chaos Conf.
Oh, what is that? Oh, Chaos Conf.
So
Nice.
yeah, by Gremlin, they've got Gremlin's hosting their conference next week, and I met. I know one of the senior engineers there, and so she invited me to. I won't be speaking at it, but just joining because all this chaos stuff is totally new to me, but I'm also fascinated by it. Have you guys ever played around with Gremlin or chaos engineering?
No, it's my first
Not
time
really.
hearing about it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh. So,
Or maybe yes, and we don't know.
Yeah.
maybe there's been some self-induced chaos engineering, but
Yeah.
the idea is it's almost like automated hacking on for your everything. So for like your backend, for your APIs, your databases, basically what chaos engineering does, it just lets loose these scripts that try to break your backend and just essentially test your app's resiliency. And I know one of the biggest companies that uses it is Netflix. And so they'll literally run their chaos gremlins in production, and they have so much. They have like backups for their backups and resiliency for their resiliency that if a whole server goes down, no problem. All this automatic failover is all done automatically, and it's really impressive. But at the same time, it's also terrifying to me to be like, oh yeah, just break all my code. See what you can do. Like, I don't know if I'd ever run that in production, but maybe on a test server or like a QA server.
True. Yeah, I've known of the concept, but I didn't know it was called chaos engineering. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have a conference around that.
Yeah. Let me see if we'll drop a link in the chat. Chaos Conf 2020.
So Lester never told us if we are okay.
Oh, really?
So,
no worries.
either that means everything's great or nothing's working.
Yeah. Everything is going wrong. I'm just setting the Twitch title. For the
Here we
session as well.
got Ricardo. Ricardo is always wanting to tell us. How's going on, Ricardo?
Hey, Ricardo.
Hey, welcome.
So yes, Lester, we were asking if we are okay with the streaming, if everything goes fine.
Yeah, how's the audio?
How are we sounding?
How's the sound? How's the image? We're about to start. Okay, we got the confirmation. Sound and video.
Sound and video good.
Nice.
Go.
Design.
We even got an image great. All right.
Nice. Oh, we also have Brian in the chat. Hey, welcome, Brian. Yeah, he's a really active Xamarin community member in the Spanish community. Yeah, it's really nice to have you here.
Awesome.
All right, so I guess we can get started. Let's see, I publish everywhere, Facebook, Instagram. Yep, everything seems good. So yeah, let's just. I guess eventually more people are gonna be joining, but let's get started because we already have a few. So I believe. Let me see StreamYard here. I'm sharing my screen, right? Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
So welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining another session of mobile app redesign for developers. Today we're going to be talking about onboarding and empty states. But before getting into that, we're going to continue where we left off on our past session, which was on seeing the code walkthrough of GitTrends and learning a bit about what C# markup is and how we have our UIs implemented in the GitTrends project. And this is all going to be guided by our great guest speaker, Brandon Minnick. And after we see that, we're going to start implementing the mockup for the star tracker feature that we created last week. I did some improvements on the colors for that screen, but yeah, we're gonna be working on that, and then we're gonna go and see like for 10 or 15 minutes what onboarding is and how we can create good empty states for our Xamarin mobile apps. So yeah, let me hand it up to Brandon. Welcome, Brandon, again. Thanks you for joining us, and we're really happy to have you here on another Friday. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Thanks for having me. So we want to just walk through GitTrends first, just kind of take a peek at the architecture, maybe see some C# markup. Is that what we're thinking? And then dive into making the new UI?
Yep.
Cool.
Exactly.
Actually, do you mind showing the new UI? Do you happen to have it up right now before I switch to my screen?
Yep. Let me just share it here.
Because I know I want to see it again since this is what we're going to be working on. Just a good reminder. And if anybody missed it last week, this is what Luis and I were working on together on the show last Friday. And it's basically adding another chart to this page in the app. So this page normally shows us the number of views, unique clones, unique clones that you have. And we want to add, and we're thinking, do it like a little carousel swipe. And you can swipe on that chart and it'll switch to your stars. So it'll show you your star history, basically. Like maybe like you opened up the repo in January and you got your first star on January 2nd, and then you got your second star the next day. And so the graph would show you kind of that star history, star progress. So cool. Let me bring up my screen and let's do this.
I didn't notice I was muted, but yeah, exactly what Brandon said. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. In the Debug C project, the bottom one didn't have the segmented control on the top because that's something I wanted to also do when we went back to the Debug C. But yeah, everything should be exactly as Brandon explained.
Right on. And do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Let's code. All right. So we'll go ahead and just launch the app real quick. Give everybody a quick introduction to it in case you haven't seen this app. This is and some background on it, right? What is this app? Well, this is an app that I made. Oh gosh, maybe about a year and a half ago. I went down this path where, well, I still am. I'm really excited about GraphQL. Love GraphQL. And when I started learning about it, found out that GitHub's APIs or GitHub has a GraphQL API. And so when I was putting together my first kind of demo code, playing around with learning GraphQL, I would always use the GitHub APIs because I love GitHub, I love open source. And then was playing around with that more. And it's like, this is kind of cool. And I found that, let's see. Let me pull up Safari here to show what this looks like in GitHub. Well, that's still compiling because what's neat about GitHub is if you own a repo, if you're a contributor on a repo, so we'll dive into the GitTrends repo because yes, GitTrends is totally open source. And since I am the owner, I can go into this Insights tab. I can click on traffic and I can see how many people have cloned my repo over the last couple of weeks, how many people have visited this repo over the last couple of weeks. And then it also shows you where those visitors are coming from. So it looks like some folks are coming from GitHub. CodeTraveler.io is my blog. Probably make that a little bigger. Some folks come from Google. And so I love this insight, this traffic insight. But the problem I had is I've created about 300 GitHub repos and actively maintain, oh gosh,
Wow.
let's just say dozens.
Yeah.
I mean, some GitHub repos are just for like bug fixes, right? Like create a reproduction sample and then I can include that in my bug report. And but yeah, a lot of them are apps that I actively maintain, or at least try to actively maintain. And when I learned about this chart here in the GitHub UI or in the GitHub portal, I was like, man, I wish I could see this as a snapshot for all my open source repos, because the problem with this is, okay, great. So this is how I see, okay, it looks like I've got, like this day, there's 200 people visiting the GitTrends repo. That's awesome. And that tells me this is an active repo. People are interested in it. I should maintain this. And that's great. But then if I go to my profile and look at my other repositories, I only have 260. Sorry, guys. I lied and I said I had 300. But
Still a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if I come to here and I'm like, all right, well, now I want to see what other repos are active. Like here's another one of my repos. This one's a NuGet package I made to help you with async await stuff. And again, I have to click into the tab. I have to click into traffic. And then I can see how many people are visiting the repo, how many clones it's getting to go, yes, okay, great, that's active. And so, this app all started from just me being super selfish and wanting to see all my repositories and all of the info about them consolidated and in one place. And so we've got the app running now. Here's what it looks like. And we can see all of my repos listed here. And we get a quick snapshot of how many, this is views, total views. This is unique views. This is stars. But we can also filter by, if we're more interested in maybe clones, that'll change to our clone stats, or maybe we want to know how many issues we have on our repos. We can sort by that. And so we get a nice quick snapshot of exactly the data we want to see, or at least exactly the data I wanted to see. And when we click into one of these, this is where we see that chart that we've been talking about. So this is, I'm one of the contributors to Xamarin Community Toolkit, which, as fellow Xamarin developers out there, if you haven't heard of Xamarin Community Toolkit, it's probably worth a quick shout out, because this is where a lot of Xamarin Forms goodies are moving to, at least for now. And what do I mean by that? Well, Xamarin Forms is moving to version 5. And while that's going on, the Microsoft team's working on .NET MAUI, which will be the next evolution of Xamarin. So Xamarin's evolving into MAUI, and Xamarin Forms is evolving into a UI toolkit that runs on MAUI. So if you kind of think of this, so one way to think of MAUI, and this kind of hit me when I was watching James Clancy's stream super early in the morning, my time. There was Xamarin Experts Day, conference held in Germany, or based in Germany. This year it was held virtually all around the world. But James Clancy, one of our all-star engineers at Microsoft, is kind of the dreamer behind .NET MAUI. And he was showing off some of the code, and it kind of hit me that today, if you can picture it, we have Xamarin Forms, and then Xamarin Forms sits on top of those platform-specific projects. So like Xamarin Forms sits on top of Xamarin iOS, Xamarin Android, UWP, etc. Well, what MAUI is going to be is a layer in between those. So MAUI will handle all of the what we now call rendering. Maui's going to call it handling. So like your button handlers have your button renderer. But basically, Maui's going to be the layer that does the translation into the native platform-specific code. So to turn your button from your cross-platform library into a UI button on iOS, Maui's going to handle that. So Maui's going to be like your translator, almost like if you're familiar with LLVM and how that can boil down to bytecode that runs on different platforms, or even how .NET has the what's it called when you compile your .NET code? It is a word I'm blanking on, but oh shoot, I'll think of it later. But anyways, yeah. So think of this. What we're moving to is Xamarin Forms will still be the top layer where you can write your UI code, and it'll sit on top of Maui. And then Maui's going to handle what we're going to be calling the handling or the rendering of our UI control. So basically, Xamarin Forms will point to Maui, and in Maui, it's all going to be interface based. So there's going to be iButton, iLabel, what else? iPicker, all that fun stuff will be in Maui. And then Maui knows how to translate iPicker into a native iOS picker, which it's not really a picker because that doesn't exist on iOS. But anyways, so with that, Xamarin Forms is moving to version 5.0. That'll have a dependency on Maui. And when we do that, we need to focus on stability for basically the foreseeable future, right? So when Xamarin Forms moves to 5.0, there's a lot of experimental features that were still in Xamarin Forms back in the previous version 4.8. Some of those experimental controls were promoted into stable in version 5.0, but some weren't. And those ones that were not are landing in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So that was a long way of saying, if you haven't heard of the Xamarin Community Toolkit, make sure to come in here, star the repo. I know I'm watching it to see when new releases come, but it'll basically be a NuGet package that we can add into our Xamarin apps. And things, for example, like the expander view. Expander view was something that didn't make the cut into Xamarin Forms 5.0. Well, you can find that today in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. But anyways, back to GitTrends. Let's close out of here because I'll just keep getting distracted.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of good stuff there. You can literally go like a week just looking at all the stuff you have in the toolkit, and it's really useful for your project. So yeah,
I know, right? I'm excited.
Yeah, but that was a good information to all the community, because this event, I was watching the event because it was in my time zone. And I was watching the Clancy. Clancy is the name of the guy.
Yeah, Clancy.
He's great, explaining all the details, the low details of the new implementation of Maui. He was pointing out the substitution of rendering for handlers. So now all about interfaces will be great for new UI frameworks to come in Maui. That's great.
Yeah, everything is going to be an interface now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful new world. And the cool thing that it opens up is so with Maui being this interface between the UI library and the native platforms or the operating systems, it allows two cool things to happen. The first being, let's say you create a new operating system tomorrow. You call it Luis OS, and it's some new, improved, awesome operating system. And you want, say, Xamarin Forms to be able to run on it. Well, today you would have to invest a ton of work because you would have to hand create all those renderers specifically for your platform. Then you'd also have to port in all the Xamarin Forms libraries and stuff like that. Well, once we have Maui, Luis OS doesn't have to worry about the UI framework. It just has to implement the interfaces. So like how to So yeah, you just implement iButton, you implement iText, and then all of a sudden,
Everything
Xamarin Forms
works.
can run on your operating system, and vice versa. Like I'm sure folks have heard about Comet. That's kind of the new hotness with model view update architecture, which will, if you ask me, MVU is the future. Everybody should be learning it, doing it now, because outside of the C# world, nobody uses MVVM anymore, and everybody's using MVU. So we're a couple years behind our friends in the React world, but there's millions of developers doing MVU. It also works great with GraphQL, but yeah, Comet will be a totally different UI framework that points to Maui, and then Maui again just handles everything. So not only do we have the option or Maui gives us the flexibility to add in new operating systems anytime you want, just by implementing interfaces. The opposite is true, where people can come up with their own UI frameworks and then just point them towards Maui, and it'll just work. So amazing things coming in Maui, but we are not doing anything with Maui today. So, so get excited, but not for today's stream with Maui, because today is all about this GitTrends front and center. So here's that chart that we were looking at in the GitHub portal, and it's literally the same chart. It's the same data. This app doesn't do anything more than just access the GitHub APIs and pull down the data. So really all this is doing is just a better job for aggregating this data together. So we can see kind of in this snapshot, I can sort it by, say, stars, and we can see which repos that I contribute to have the most stars and which ones are the most active. And oh, dang, I don't have any today, but if you have a repo that has a spike in activity, so maybe a lot of people visit the repo, maybe a lot of people visit GitTrends right now because we're streaming live, well, it would show up at the top and we'd have a little trending tag. So it'll let you know when it's trending. You'll get a push notification saying, your repo is trending. Congratulations. So really, this is a great tool to stay on top of all your open source repos. If you're like me and have way too many of them to even remember. So yeah, what we're doing today, we're going to add in a new chart here. But first, I want to show you around the code just a little bit. And I guess I should show you the other pages in the app. So if we tap into this page, we can see where all the referrals are coming from. And so you can see not just how much traffic you're getting, but where it's originating. So maybe I put out a tweet and it's getting a lot of traffic, and I can see that, get that feedback, right? They're like, okay, wow, a lot of people on Twitter love the app. I should keep tweeting about it. And then the only other page, well, there's a whole onboarding screen, but we'll skip that for now because I'm already logged in. But here's a settings page where you can disconnect. We can switch from light to dark mode. Boom. Or for our friends here on .NET Dominicana, switch the language over to Espanol. I don't speak Spanish, but Luis did the translations and he promised me that everything is translated perfectly. So if it's not,
if it's not, it was not me. If you guys like it, I did it. If not, it was someone else. I see a few comments here in the chat. Ricardo says, so the Xamarin Community Toolkit is where all the new cool features will be polished. So yeah, that's what Brandon was referring to. All the preview stuff we had in Xamarin is going to be there, and the community is going to continue working on them. And Lester says, thank you, Brandon. I've been saying that for months, that MVU's the future, and I've been met with a lot of laughs.
It's don't get me wrong, I love .NET. C# is my favorite language. I have no plans on ever coding in a different language because why would I? You don't have to. We can do web, we can do mobile, we can do IoT, we can do desktop. And let's be honest, it's the best language in the world. So I'm sticking to .NET. But one of the downsides of our .NET universe is we're never cutting edge. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it's a good thing because I can look out across the other communities and see like, what are you doing in the JavaScript community? What's going on in the Python community? What's going on in the React community? And you can see some trends starting to happen and people like picking up on things, even things like Visual Studio Code isn't still the de facto editor or IDE for us .NET folks. But I mean, that's also because we have Visual Studio and it's amazing. But, you can see these trends and it's like, okay, well, we should eventually probably add Visual Studio Visual Studio Code support for Xamarin. And surprise, that's exactly what we're working on right now which will land in .NET 6. So it's still about a year away. But yeah, you can see these trends coming. So we won't be on the cutting edge. But yeah, if you look around the other developer communities around the world, you can kind of get a sense for what's next. And that's kind of where I started picking up on GraphQL. I started picking up on MVU. And if millions of developers are using them, they must be doing something right. So I don't know how crazy I'm going to get. I mean, I'm super excited for MVU. I don't know if I'm going to go through GitTrends and port everything. Maybe I will. It's just, I guess, it depends how excited I get for it. But anyways, speaking of GitTrends, let's check out just the app architecture a bit, because it's slightly unique. It uses MVVM. Everything's done model view model. So I've got all my view models here. Like this is my trends view model for that chart that we were just looking at. So we're using commands and all this fun stuff. But what is different is I do all of my UI in code. And it's funny when I tell people this, because, excuse me, I get all sorts of reactions, but probably the most common ones are, wait, you're writing your UI in code behind? And I'm like, no. There's no code behind because there's no XAML. I don't use XAML. Like this is just C#. And I go, okay, but you doing MVVM? I'm like, nope, I'm still doing MVVM. Everything's exactly the same. I'm still binding to my view models, still following all of the same architecture practices. It's just in C# instead of XAML. And so if you come and explore this, you'll get a feel for how this works. And for many of you, it's probably your first time seeing C# UI, specifically these new extension methods. But I love it. And especially once we got the C# markup extensions in Xamarin Forms 4.6, it gave us this ability to do things like when we create a grid, we can define rows and columns. And we do that using these enums here. And what's really nice is I just say row definitions equals rows.define. And then I say this first row, the statistics row, which is showed in the app, this row up here where all the statistics live. And I can say that is a specific height. That's an absolute grid length. And then below it is the chart, and that's going to be star. So just basically take up the rest of the screen. And my favorite thing about this is when I go to add my children, I don't have to remember numbers anymore. I don't have to keep in my head that, oh, geez, the first row is row 0. And well, I needed to make sure, let's see, I want to put this button in row 1, but that's the second row. And I don't know about you guys, but I always got that confused. But now I can just say that this statistics grid goes in row.statistics and the chart goes in rows.chart. And like Luis mentioned, we have this empty data view that's hidden back here. I don't know if we have any. Let's see. If I sort by.
Yeah, those, like having those hard-coded rows and columns, that was always a headache for me.
Yeah.
Each time you wanted to refactor something, or let's say you wanted to change a row 2 rows down. So all the elements you have in that row, now you had to update that number. But using these enums, since you can assign the number to it, you can simply swap them easy, right? That's another good advantage of that.
And the other nice thing is, if you want to,
I haven't seen this like an advantage. I'm I love SAML, by the way. I'm a SAML guy. I'm in the other side of the.
We're gonna
world.
convert him. Well, by the time we end this talk, he's gonna be a
Yeah,
C# guy.
that's a great one, because just with the constants, with the numbers of the height, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So you got me there.
Yeah.
Have to put the number and remember that number in the SAML.
Yeah.
Right. And like XAML, I've never understood that syntax in XAML, that if you want to use a constant or a static value, it's like a curly bracket, X : static space. It's just the weirdest thing. And it's just like, if I want to use a constant, like it should be as easy as passing in like, and actually probably the best thing is when we talk about our property names. So like, this is a property of my view model. In XAML, normally this is just a hard-coded string, so it looks something like this. Well, because we're in C#, we can use name of. Now everything's type safe. So not only can I jump straight to it using the tools in Visual Studio, I can also use tools in Visual Studio to find out who's referencing this property, so which views are referencing it. And because everything's type safe, I can rename it. Don't do this in XAML. And when I go back, the property, my binding is updated. Whereas if you ever update your property name and you have a binding in XAML, well, that XAML is just a hard-coded string. So you have to remember to then go back and fix that.
A big problem.
So I just never used XAML. It wasn't like I tried it and was like, oh, this is terrible. But it was just, I started using Xamarin because everything allowed me to do everything in C#. When Xamarin Forms first came out, I was working at Xamarin, and Xamarin Forms was initially all in C# with no XAML. So I started learning it in C#. And then it came with the XAML option. And it was like, oh, I mean, that's fine. Cool that exists. Just like you can use CSS or Mobile Blazor bindings. It's like, okay, that's cool, but I already know how to do this in C#. So I just kind of kept soldiering forward. And yeah, it's become this weird battle because most folks learn XAML first, which ironically I don't recommend. Like if you're teaching somebody new Xamarin Forms, if they've never used Xamarin Forms before and they've never used XAML, you don't have to teach them XAML. Like let them learn Xamarin Forms, let them absorb the concepts in C#, and then you can introduce XAML to them later, because all XAML's doing is now introducing another language, another syntax, on top of having to learn Xamarin Forms, on top of having to learn Xamarin iOS and MVVM and bindings and version of control and dependency injection. And like Forms is hard enough.
I think the reason of that is because most of the developers that come to Xamarin are .NET developers, so they know HTML, for example, and they absorb the knowledge of it's something like HTML. You got tags, you got props, and I don't know, maybe it's because of that.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. My theory is that it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So when I worked at Xamarin, all of our documentation was in XAML. I had to fight really hard to make sure we had everything equivalent in C#. And even like we had Xamarin University, which was live online classes you could take to learn Xamarin, and all the Xamarin Forms classes were in XAML. All the docs were in XAML. And that's still, well, partially true today. Like our docs are really good about having a C# and a XAML example for everything now. But if you go do a workshop, if you go sit in a conference talk about Xamarin, if you go to Pluralsight and take a Xamarin course or Xamarin Forms course, it's all in XAML. So when all the learning tools are in XAML, it's kind of not surprising that most folks use XAML. But what's always interesting to me is like I've met people that tell me like, I didn't know that you didn't have to use XAML. And I've had some folks just immediately switch over. They're like, oh, thank God. Like I've never liked XAML. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm indifferent to XAML, but I mean, happy you're happy.
Brian says, as you mentioned it, that he really misses Xamarin University. I totally agree with that.
Me too,
Just
man.
it was like a great spot just to get any course you needed for Xamarin. Like even the instructors were really great. They were really active as well. They still are.
Yep.
So let's hope Microsoft can bring back something similar to Xamarin University and the certifications and stuff. So yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I know there was a big challenge with that internally because Microsoft has actual certifications. And not saying like XAMU wasn't a real certification, but
Yeah.
XAMU, you would get certified. I actually still have my award. It sits on my desk. Ta-da! I'm a mobile Xamarin certified mobile developer. And
oh man, I could have made it.
I certified myself, but it was too late, so they didn't send me my trophy. But at least I got my monkey.
Yeah, we stopped doing those physical awards because it got too expensive. But
yeah,
when Microsoft acquired us, Microsoft has their own certifications, and to qualify for those certifications, you have to go to like live in-person classes, and you spend a lot of money on them, and it's like a legit thing. It's like it's like when you go to take the SATs or any big tests like that. There's like proctors there to monitor you and make sure there's no cheating, and it's like an industry recognized certification. So yeah, when Xamarin got absorbed into Microsoft, that was the question. It's like, okay, well, we have this at Xamarin, but how can we scale it for Microsoft? And there really was just no way you could scale because these live online lectures require people. And so we would have to find more amazing people for XAMU. And when you start looking at the cost benefit analysis, well, you then have to hire more people, or the opposite is true. You just increase the cost of Xamarin University, which nobody wants. And so trying to scale it at the same price point just couldn't happen. And so we've got Microsoft Learn now, which is probably the closest thing. We ported all of the XAMU material to Microsoft Learn. So it's still out there, and now it's free, which is nice. Xamarin University you had to pay for it. But anyways, back to GitTrends. We're doing everything in the C# UI. I do want to give one more shout out here because one of my other favorite things with having these named rows and columns is that if you want to do a row span, probably used to saying like 2 in XAML to say like span 2 rows. But since everything is typed and type safe, we could actually say all rows, which is really nice because then if I added in a third row down here, like we may do today, because we're going to have an indicator at the bottom, then we would automatically span the new row. So really cool for things like when you have like an image in the background, they always want to be full screen kind of thing. So let's get this back to baseline. And I want to jump into the code I wrote because I cheated a little bit, man. I'm not going to lie. You got me really excited on the stream last week. And I was like, oh, I want to implement this now. I was like, I want to work tonight. I want to do this on the weekend. But it's like, I got to wait.
That's why it's so hard like to do this like live, because there like I have got so many ideas for like the mockups as well, and I'm like, I want to do it, but
gotta wait.
I want also people to see it. So yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, but since I knew we'd be working in the UI, I figured why not add some of the code for the business logic. So things like, so for example, to build these charts, I should also give a shout out. These charts are all built with Syncfusion. I didn't make these charts. I just paid for a Syncfusion license and let them do the hard work for me.
I did not plan it, but look, I have the Syncfusion t-shirt.
Hey! Sponsor us, Syncfusion.
Yeah, please.
Sponsor dotnet Dominicana. But yeah, so this is just a Syncfusion chart. Everything is baked into Syncfusion. So this, I forget what they call this chart. I think this is called an area chart. That's right. Because it's a line chart, but they fill in the area below the line. And when we have multiple lines and we're showing multiple data sets in one place, this area chart made a lot of sense for us so that we could do things like hiding the clones and the views. So we could just see one, or we could hide that and just see the clones. And so we'll see how we end up with our stars chart. But what you'll notice is we have to know the date range. So the minimum date, the maximum date. We have to know the y-axis. So the minimum, the minimum is always going to be 0 on the y-axis, but what is the maximum? So the max views and clones, and most of the time you'll get more views than clones, but sometimes the clones is higher, and you just always have to account for all this stuff. And so what I did after the stream last week, I had some of the bones, some of the skeleton back here for stars. So the same how we have min max for the view clones date range, I added in that min max for the stars, and added in some logic down here for when we fetch the data. Again, this is all just coming from the GitHub API. And so what I'm doing is making the API call to get what GitHub calls star gazers, and obviously the views and clone statistics, doing them all in parallel with a task.winall, and then we populate them. And then down here is where we'll put them on the chart. So what I'm thinking we'll do today is essentially copy paste the chart we have and see if we can just bind it up to the stars data and see what happens. It's not going to look great. The color scheme's not going to be there yet. Right now we have these statistics above it, which when we show the stars, this will also look different, but I think we'll focus on this, and we should hopefully by the end of this stream have a single line showing us a star history. Fingers crossed. So
it's like we said, the important thing is first getting the feature working, and once we have the backend and everything working, we can focus on making it pixel perfect. But yeah, definitely let's just copy paste it and see what we get.
Yeah, right. Why not?
Yeah.
Don't
what
try
good
this.
developers do.
Don't try this
Copy
at home.
So I have one other thing I did to help with this copy pasting. So I have the view clones chart, and I created this base chart view and base trends chart. So a couple base classes that should help us get going a little bit quicker too. Again, this was me cheating last week after our stream, but I think what I want to do, I'm just going to copy all of this and create a new view called our stars chart. Paste this in, and this will be stars chart, and this will be our stars trends chart.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll go get myself a bottle of water. Also, anyone that's watching, remember to take your water break. Stay hydrated. I'll be right back.
All right, so just to fill everybody in, the base chart view, this is just a material frame. And no, come back, GitTrends. So if you've never heard of material frame, this is an amazing library. And see how everything in this list is a card? That's all done with material frame. And when I click into a repo, you can see more of these cards. And again, this is all just material frame. We didn't do any custom code for it. And let me show it in the light view. Actually, we can do this. We go default view. Yeah, look at that. So see how they have like the little shadow below them. And when I click on one of these and we disable it, then the shadow goes away. It kind of sinks back into the page. This is all just done with Material Frame. Material Frame is a NuGet package made by Jean-Marie, who's one of the geniuses, or he might be the genius behind Sharpnado. Not sure if he has anybody else on his team, on the Sharpnado team, helping him. But yeah, Jean-Marie made these material frames that you just give it an elevation, and it'll automatically calculate the shadows and stuff behind. And so you can do cool things like when I click on this card, you'll notice that the shadow goes away and the card sinks into the screen. All I'm doing in my code is I'm just changing the elevation from, I think it goes from 4 to 1. And then material frame does the rest. And so what's really funny is when Luis designed this UI, I should explain. So yeah, I first created this app. I pushed it to the App Store and it was very functional, but it didn't look great. And then Luis is awesome. He pinged me on the side. He's like, hey man, I got some ideas how we can actually make this look good. And I was like, yes, please help. So he created this awesome, beautiful UI design. But yeah, when we first started implementing it, we just did everything by hand. So we just basically hand calculated these shadows and we're drawing everything on. And we actually shipped the V1 of the app like that. And then I stumbled across Material Frame and was like, oh, hey, Luis, we didn't have to do all that. Like we can just say elevation equals, and we don't have to calculate like the card color or anything like that. But anyways,
you were doing it with the frame, with the Xamarin Forms frame at the beginning, with shadows and all those stuffs.
Yeah,
I think we were leveraging Pancake View to get the rounded corners.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically a Xamarin Forms frame.
So frame didn't make it to the V1, but when I first implemented some of the screen, like we divided the work, right? So some of my screens I first did with frame, and then when I talk with Brandon, that's why it's good always to be like collaborating and getting feedback. And Brandon was like, "Hey, dude, but let's just use Pancake View, though. Let's not go with frame." So then we switched everything to frame and we shipped it to Pancake View, and we did everything with Pancake View because it's a really powerful UI component. So if you haven't used it, go and add it to your app right now.
Now with the gradients that we have in Xamarin Forms since 4.7, I guess.
Yeah.
Now we got this gradient. I always install Pancake View just for the gradients. To be honest.
Yeah.
I just want the gradients in my
frames. Has a really good debug tool which is called Debug Rainbows. We also have it installed in GitTrends, and it's really good for when you're working with this UI. So, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Luis beat me up with that all the time because, like I said, like Luis is way better at making UIs than I am, and so I'd merge a pull request, like, hey man, I got this page done. And he'd look at it and be like, no, something's off. He's like, you're missing 4 pixels right here. I'm like, yeah, no, it looks fine. He's like, trust me, you're missing 4 pixels. And he would pull up Debug Rainbows and everything would be grid aligned. Like, oh yeah, well, look at that. How about it?
Yeah, that's if you guys recall from the first sessions we had when we were talking about spacing and how you can actually make a difference in your UI just by giving proper white space between components. This is one of the key things that makes the GitTrends new UI so like clean and like everything looks balanced, because we also gave enough room to breathe for the components. And that's what Brandon is saying, like, oh, you're missing a few pixels here, because we really were like on top of it, like, no, we can't put stuff too much together or too far apart.
That's why you guys call the magic numbers, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See how this looks. I just flipped on Debug Rainbows, but who knows how long that'll take to compile again. Dang. Everything's compiling.
Oh, yeah.
Nice and slow today. But anyways, I want to jump into this stars chart because that's the point of today. We are trying to make a new chart. So the stars chart, again, I made this base class. And this base class is just based on SF chart, which is Sync Fusion chart. So again, shout out to Sync Fusion because they're doing all the hard work for us, like these things like zoom and pan and trackball behavior. That's allows me to do stuff like this or zoom in. And I didn't have to write a single line of code other than just say, adding it as a chart behavior here. Ooh, here comes Debug Rainbows.
So we have a question here from the chat. Brian asks, everything is made with C# then?
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, we have all
Easy
our
question.
UI. Yeah, all our UI is complete in C#, and we are using the C# for markup extensions to make it way easier as well. So yeah, the whole code, you're not gonna see a single SAML file in the project.
And this is what Debug Rainbows gives you, by the way. So Debug Rainbows, because it gives a background color to every unique UI element. So even like the title has a different background color than the frame and the chart and the numbers. So if you really need to figure out what's going on in your app, you can just turn it on and you get this cool grid. That's what I was talking about earlier, where you can make sure everything is perfectly aligned.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's great for debugging. It's
when you're doing some tricky UIs, when you're doing some tricky UIs that you have negative margins and all stuffs, you need to know what's going on with your screens, and that's great.
Yeah, you know how sometimes it could be tricky, like the fill and expand, and how each element, like if you're using different labels, if the label is really expanding to the end, and yeah, if you're working with other developers in the team, this could help you a lot. You don't need to, like, at least in the SAML, it was so tedious to me, like to go to each of the elements and see, okay, where's the fill and expand? So yeah, you can just use this and save a lot of time of development.
Yeah, at least hopefully. Hopefully it saves you time. All right, back to the main event. So what we're looking at here is, this is still the old chart that we just copy pasted, and we had 4 data, I don't say data points, but 4 things of data in the last one, with views, unique views, clones, unique clones. We don't need all that. We just need stars. So we'll call this our star series. And then, of course, that's going to break a lot of stuff up here from all that copy-pasted code. And so one easy thing to do is, in our series, we only have one now, stars series. And just go ahead and start doing this. And okay, so for the stars series, we need to pass in what? We pass in a title. So let's just call this star history for now. I don't even think the title appears anymore. Well, app's not even there anymore. And then we have to pass in the X and Y data bindings. So this is going to be on the X axis. We're going to have, I think we have a star model. Actually, I should probably just look at my, shouldn't guess. Let's just look at my view model. Trends view model. We have an iRead-only list of daily stars. So instead of daily views, look at me using good naming conventions. All right, so stars model dot day. So that'll be the x-axis, and then the y-axis will be daily stars dot total stars. So it'll be the total number of stars on that day. So what's a little funky with the way the GitHub API works is, when you ask the GitHub API for what they call stargazers, it just gives you back a bunch of timestamps. So when I ask for this data, it comes back with January 1st, 8 a.m., January 3rd, 2 p.m. And what we have to infer is that the first date and timestamp, that was the first star. So on that day, there was one total star, and that was, what I say, January 1st. And then January 3rd was the second star. And so, so I added in some logic to essentially add a new star for every day as we add them to the list. The other thing is the color. And I think we have a stars icon color. Let's roll with that to see. Who knows? It's probably not going to look great, but yeah, so now we just have to wire up the binding. So again, I cheated last week and added some of these, this list in here already. So let's see, it could be the daily stars list. What was it before? Daily views? Yeah, daily stars. And then is visible will still be the same is visible property. All right. then this is where things get, well, maybe they get interesting, or maybe they stay exactly the same, because the chart axis for the primary axis, it'll still be, oh, that's the line style. Okay, so this is just styling. So let's skip that for now. I want to make sure we can at least see the stars data on the screen, and then we can start fine-tuning the styling to make sure it looks good. But here we go. This is what I was looking for. So for the primary axis, let's do the bindings first. So we have to tell it the min, this is the view clone state. So we want min stars date and then max stars date. And it's still going to be a date time axis. So that is good. Again, like the stroke color and the interval, I don't know. We'll see how it looks. Ship it. And then with the secondary axis, that should just be the same. We should just have to change the, let's see, it should be daily stars. I didn't make a property for that. Oh, shame on me. It's the min value. I mean, that's always going to be 0. And then the max value, I thought I made one. Min daily stars date. Cool. Look at that. We got an opportunity to add something new to the view model. All right. So
we had to leave something for today in the cheat. You see, now we can say that we didn't cheat it last week because we are adding something to the view model.
Yeah. So daily stars list. Because how am I doing this? I have this set up. So if I change the list, I have this method run that automatically updates everything or calls I notify property changed on everything that is involved with that. So basically it's just this easy way to cascade my notify property changes. And it looks like, yeah, with my daily clones, we've got, okay. So yeah, I missed kind of this chunk of data here. Okay, no problem. So the easy one is going to be this one because the daily stars min value is always going to be 0. You can't get negative stars, or at least not that I'm aware of. We'll find out if anybody opens a bug on the repo. And then the daily stars max value, that'll just be the last one. I'll tell you what, let's do it like this for now. We'll call it, let's leave it as double, because I think the sync fusion chart needs a double. If memory serves correctly. We can play around with that later, but let's see. Daily stars, max value. I mean, in all honesty, it's just it should be the last thing in the list. It's like, that should work, but let's just be bad and do this. The max, does that give me max enumerable? Oh, duh. Max tilde stars.
Oh, okay.
That'll. So
yeah, because this list is probably not sorted, right?
I think it is, but
yeah, just in case.
This will work.
Yeah.
It just might be a little slower.
Yeah.
So I'll keep this one in mind to circle back and when we do some performance improvements. Because if it's a sorted list, we should just use the last value or the first value, whichever way is. But
remember, we just want to see if it works, and then we can optimize that.
If this screen takes a long time to load, that's fine. I just want to see it on the page. Yeah. So let's see, daily stars max value, daily stars min value. Then now we can wire up those bindings. So daily stars max, daily stars min.
Yeah, remember, guys, if you have
I think that might be
any
it.
questions, don't wait until the end. You can start putting them in the chat, and I'll make sure, and Angel as well, to make them, to run them. So yeah, don't be shy, and ask anything you want.
All right, so
if we're going too quick, also tell us to go a little bit slower, because I know some of you have not had experience with doing the UI completely in C#. So anything you want to ask, doesn't matter how small you think it is, you can ask it. So yeah, you can go ahead, Brandon.
no problem. Yeah, so I mean, we're just compiling right now. All I did while you were chatting was I changed this from our view clones chart and toggled it over to the stars chart. So
Nice.
again, this is not what our final UI is going to look like, but I want to first see that our stars chart appears on the screen and see how it matches up with what we were essentially drawing up last week.
Yep.
And it'll look a little funky because those statistics will still be above it, which we don't want there for right now, but focus on the chart. It's not going to look great, I promise, but let's first do this for functionality's sake.
The moment.
All right. So excited. Let's get one with a lot of stars. One of those Xamarin repos.
Yeah.
Like, I think the community toolkit has a bunch of stars now.
Yeah, I think it's more than 500 already.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. 650.
Nice.
Oh, it blew up. Got an exception.
Well, it wouldn't be a
good.
demo. It wouldn't be a demo if it doesn't blow up.
Because we're doing it live.
Now you're not cheating.
That's right.
Yeah. Now they know it's actually live.
Yeah, let's increase this font size down here.
Maybe it's part of the plan.
No.
Of Brandon, and he's still
I
cheating.
promise I thought this was going to work. Specified cast is not valid.
Oh, convert to double.
And convert to double. So
where did we do that?
Yeah, where are we using a double?
Yeah.
Oh no, I lost my phone. What's happening? All right. Maybe a little. There we go. All right. So what? Let's see. Convert to double. So what could be going on here? We are binding to. Well, actually,
the
let's dig a
item
little bit
source
more
is
into that.
double, right? The stars you're passing them as double, right? The totals.
Good question. Let's see. So set binding, item source property, daily stars list, and the x-axis is. I'm sorry. The y-axis is total stars. Total stars are an int.
It says int. Yeah. So maybe
worth a
that's
shot.
the one.
Double.
Yep. That's it.
Worth a shot, right?
Yep. I mean, that's
this
the
one
only thing we're like the only thing we're adding that has to maybe deal with the double issue.
Yeah, although you should be able to convert it into double, but
yeah,
who knows? This is one of the fun things about using third-party libraries is they do save you a ton of time because you don't have to hand create it, but you should also probably read their documentation so that you use it properly, which I'm not doing right now. But I will say,
I first try to like just wing it, and if I see it's blowing up, I'm like, okay, I'll go read your documentation.
Right, you win. But this is a cool thing I wanted to shout out. If anybody has never seen this syntax before for constructors, this is a expression body constructor that's using a tuple to deconstruct the values, which is really cool. So you can essentially.
Another thing I learned from you when I was dealing with this code, you use like a lot of new cool stuff in like the latest versions of C#. So yeah,
I love it, man.
I've learned a ton of shortcuts.
That's great. You can even use this with the injected dependencies.
Oh yeah.
Like
this whole, we'll show you. I'm using dependency injection all over the place in here because dependency injection just cares about what to pass in. Once it gets passed into the constructor, then.
Yeah, but for example, here you have the equal into the body of the constructor. If you can do that with the top with this expression, would be nice, right?
Equal in the body. Not sure what you mean. So this is it's the equivalent of doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
and
this is the
assigning
equivalent of
each of them.
doing this.
Yeah, but do the same with the dependencies.
Yeah, he means like assigning the services to your. Imagine you have like private variables for your services. So he's saying like you inject them, right, in the constructor. Can you use also the tuple for, let's say,
Yeah, it's the same
paths of
idea.
private? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Sure.
somewhere in here.
That's cool.
One of these things will have.
Yeah,
So
for
the
example,
only
here.
thing is like, I mean, once you get past 2 or 3, then it becomes a little unwieldy to have like 4 things in your tuple.
Yeah.
It just becomes tough to read. Like, that's not one. I'm sure I have one in here that's probably in this GraphQL stuff. Nah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, all it is just taking advantage of the fact that you can, when you deconstruct a tuple, you can also assign it to a variable. And so it's just a cool way of, I like doing to initialize stuff. But yeah, we still broke. So we didn't. So changing that value to a double wasn't the.
At the end of the first string. No. Yeah, at the start of the stack trace, but at the end of the text box. Yeah, I'll go all the way to the end. Does it say so it's something related to we're passing to the chart series.
Yeah, system double
It's
Y lists. Okay, so Y paths. Okay, so it must be something on the Y, or maybe it's something on the Y axis. So that would be our secondary axis. And numerical min. Oh, that's a problem. I flipped min and max.
Oh.
Wait. Daily stars. Let's just do this. Min, max. So max, min, min. Why not just run it, see what happens? And then the y-axis is bound to. Well, that was total stars.
And it's still an int.
Yeah, so I moved it back to an int because because it still failed after we changed it to double.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see what happens with this, because that was definitely a bug. We shouldn't have swapped min and max like that. And try to change things one at a time as much as possible.
Chart axis. Yeah, the other min and max is okay. Yeah.
It should be good. But I said that the first time.
Yep. Yeah, we never know until we run it.
We can also look at that stack trace in App Center. Saw some App Center logs flying by as it was launching.
Yeah.
Let's just grab. Dang.
Might still load up.
So, oh no, I didn't mean to make you go away. That's just my output. I'll tell you what, speaking of App Center.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how App Center lays it out.
Yeah, the formatting's really nice.
Can you go in the middle of the screen and you see where it says hide on the bottom for the StreamYard sharing thing?
Yep.
There you go. Wait, what happened? Okay. Yeah, there you go. Now we can see everything.
Cool.
Let's see. Issues. Handle collection. View selection changed.
Woo! All right, so if we
Nice.
walk
Colors.
all the way back, I know, right? So this is happening when we push it, and it's all creating the renderer. So that's interesting. It gives me a better idea where we could start with debugging.
Yeah.
Yeah, chart series, property change, set item source, on data source, generate points, and then convert the points to double. I wonder if there's... So let's put a breakpoint in the view model here, because now we know it's happening when the page gets pushed. So it's... yeah, because when the page gets pushed, we don't necessarily populate the charts. That's done with this fetch data command. So let's put a breakpoint here, and let's put a breakpoint where that fetch data command executes. And this will help us figure out where, or at least how far the code is getting before it blows up. So yeah, I mean the default's just an empty array. Should be fine because I'm doing the same thing with the views and clones. Doing the daily stars list. All right, so we'll click on this. All right, we hit this breakpoint. This initialization looks good. I just realized I don't have an is star series visible. I wonder, am I using that somewhere in here? I don't think this is part of that bug, but that would be a different bug. Is views. Okay, so I am using that. So I should have an is stars noted, but we'll ignore that for at least right now. That'll be a future bug. These are the commands initializing. That's the command initializing there. Okay. So it made it through the constructor. Whoa.
Okay. Let's see where it blow.
Okay, so we do get into execute fetch data command. And this makes sense because in the stack trace it said something about the property changed event fired.
Yeah.
And so that would happen here.
Get daily star list.
Daily star list. So let's see, right here. Okay, we're still alive. Okay. And the daily stars list has...
Wait, we have some unique clones, unique views stuff here as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming those don't break anything.
Yeah.
Because we're not using them. And they were there already. Huh. So that's interesting. So
print days? What is this?
This is just to help me debug. When I was trying to figure out like why the data wasn't appearing on the chart back in the day.
Okay.
And so, I don't know. I left it in there. It's got a debug conditional on it, so it doesn't run in production.
Nice.
What's going on? If I step into something here. It's in the native code. All right. Let's give it a closer look. So something that converts double. Generate property points.
On data source change. XY data series. Set items.
So this tells me it's got to be one of the item source bindings.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, like, it keeps saying XY, so it doesn't tell us whether it's the X coordinate or the Y coordinate.
Yeah.
And I know this says convert to double, but I'm wondering, something I just thought of is, so we have our daily stars list, and I want to jump into this daily clones to see what they're using for. So this is daytime offset. I was just curious if maybe it's like a daytime offset versus a daytime thing, which shouldn't be, but Okay, so that's daytime offset and the stars. Also daytime offset. Let me just rename this because this will be a future bug. No, let me rename it. Day to day. Daily stars list, daily stars list, daily stars list. And we saw the data in it. Man, I wonder if it's one of those weird things where, like, I know we changed this to double.
Yeah, and can we like clean the bin and object?
Exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Like we didn't clean it, so
Yeah.
who knows
it
if
could be this plain or something.
like, when in doubt, delete your bin and obj folders.
Yep.
Those are the worst. I also hate that clean doesn't just like delete the bin and obj folders. It like goes into each of them individually and removes the files, but sometimes it misses files. And you're like,
yeah, sometimes it doesn't completely delete it.
Right.
I've had so many hard times with that. I just directly go to the files, but I delete them. But I know long ago you told me about an extension I installed that a friend of yours made. Yeah, and it will delete everything completely.
Yeah. So let's see. Does this have a bin and obj folder we can show off? Does not. This one, you got a bin and obj folder? Cool. Yeah, so there's this extension on the Mac that allows you to say clean, and it'll just recursively go through all the folders and delete all the bin and obj. It's like, now the bin and obj folders are gone. I will say one downside with that, though, nowadays is when we're using project references for our NuGet packages.
Yeah,
those
need to restart everything.
Yeah, you got to restore your NuGet packages. So like in here somewhere, or maybe it's in the obj folder. I don't know. But yeah, somewhere in here is, the NuGet cache. And so when you delete the bin and obj folders, it deletes the NuGet cache. And then you go to run your program again. It's like, nope, you got to restore your NuGet packages. But the ironic thing with all this is all the NuGet packages they're already cached locally. I think it's here.
Can you zoom that a little bit? The terminal. There you go. Perfect.
So let's see. Packages. Oh, yeah, look at all those NuGet packages. In your user folder, if you go to .NuGet/packages, like I'm sure there's a Xamarin Forms. No? Or is it all lowercase? Yeah, so like here's all cached. Look at that. All the way back to 1.5. And so like NuGet restore just first checks this cache, and then if it's missing from the cache, it'll go download it from NuGet. So it's nice because it saves you a trip, but what I think is silly is like, why have this project NuGet cache? Like, just have the project check the cache. I don't know. I mean, it's better than the previous way, which is nice.
Yeah. I see Ricardo is asking, what is the name of the extension for the clean? So you were saying this comes integrated with the Mac?
Dang. Failed again. This was something a coworker of mine wrote when I worked at Xamarin. Colby Williams, shout out. Awesome dude. But what? Do I still have it?
Let me see.
I don't know if I still have it. I posted it on Dropbox.
Yeah, I don't remember where you sent me that. I think it was on Twitter, but that was so long ago. Wasn't that like a year or something?
Bash script. I'll tell you what. If everybody wants it, shoot me just tweet at me and say, give me that clean script, and then I can dig it up and share it with you after, because it is super helpful. There's also, somebody pointed out, you can do there's a git command.
Oh yeah, somewhere
Git clean dash xvf or something like that, which will also clean. Basically, what that does is it gets rid of everything. How do I put it? Everything in your git ignore. It'll clean out all that stuff.
Yeah, let me see if I can get that link for you guys.
All right, but we're still crashing because we didn't convert double. And that is happening when the data source changes. And if we go back to the chart, our item source property is the daily stars list. And that's a list of daily stars model. And so our bindings, X data, Y data, color, and our X data is the day, and our Y is the total. So that seems good. And then minimum, minimum, maximum, maximum for the date. Okay, I tell you what, we can narrow this down by, let's just remove this item source, because that'll at least help us focus in on where it's happening. So we can narrow down where this crash is happening within this stars trends chart class.
Yep. So I put in the chat the link to the blog post Brandon was referencing. It was made by Samer Mansour. He's a really active community member from Xamarin. And yeah, you guys can go check that out. It's a really neat git command. It's git clean hyphen fxd, and that basically does, it deletes all your git ignore files. So you gotta be careful with using it, because depending on what you have there, that's also gonna get deleted. It's not only the bin and up files that are gonna get deleted.
All right, I'll sometimes put secrets in my git ignore.
Yeah,
exactly. I was pointing to that. If you are using mobile tool, for example, take care with deleting the secrets file.
All right, so nothing should appear on this chart now. Okay. So that's definitely where the crash is happening, when the item source property is changing. So,
so we're binding to daily star list.
So why don't we do something like this? So let's leave that binding commented out, and let's just hard code an item source as a new list of, just a list, please. Why would it be like, oh, you must have meant list proclamation vendors. Of course. No, guys, just
you've been using it so much in this project. Like, you're like, what even is this?
Never even heard of that. So let's do, so you'll have 1 star on new date time. Date, time, offset. See, 2020. Today's let's go back to January. It's January 1st. I know I did 01. Minutes, seconds, offset, and empty, none, 0, 0. So let's do that, and then we'll have 2 stars that come in on, which one was the month? Month, day. So January 3rd. And then we'll get our 3rd star, our 4th star here on, let's jump a month. Why not? Go crazy. February 3rd. Then we'll jump at October 1st. Okay, so let's see what happens if we just hard code this as the item source, because what I'm thinking is this will also give us another data point. So we're binding to the day and to the total stars, and this will at least tell us, well, it narrows down, it removes a little bit of that view model code. So we know the bug wouldn't be necessarily the view model, that it's with how we're doing our bindings, or maybe how we've created these models. But yeah, another step in hopefully the right direction. Love that. It's that old quote from Thomas Edison when he was working on a light bulb. He was like, I didn't fail to make a light bulb. It's like, I learned 200 ways not to make a light bulb. And I always try to think of that like that. It's like, I didn't fail trying to find this bug. I just learned of ways that weren't causing the bug.
Yeah, you learn a ton of stuff while you're like solving a bug. Like, it's just not like, oh, it's not working. Actually, the next time something doesn't work, you'll get to the solution faster because you went through all that failure that was happening.
So same crash. Same crash with hard-coded data. So that kind of tells me either our model's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using total stars as a double now, right? Yeah, still a double.
Yeah.
Daytime offsets for the day. But for whatever reason, it doesn't like how we're doing this. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to look back at our...
Wait. Go back to the model. Let me see something. Total stars, day. Yeah, it should work. I thought we maybe switch like the assignments, but no, it's okay. No.
Yeah, and even when I looked up when we had the breakpoints in and I looked at the list, the data was clean in the list.
Yeah.
And that was real data come back from the API, so that's a good data point.
Yeah.
But so what I wanted to do is compare our stars chart against our view clones chart. And let's just look at these side by side. So the title, and that's local day. Oh, it's using local day. And local day is date time. Okay. Let's do something like that real quick. We'll do a little quick hack to say,
maybe they only accept daytime in the chart.
Yeah, which is funny because I think we chatted about that earlier. And it's like, couldn't be. Let's see. Public date time. Let's call this temp day, so remember to delete it.
Yep.
Should give us. Actually, we probably do want local day because now that I remember, GitHub gives us everything in UTC, but I convert it to the local day on purpose because if you're in a time zone like me in California, well, you would see data from the future on your chart. So
yeah,
actually, let's keep this. I remember that now. So local date time. Okay. Let's change that to local day. Cross our fingers. And then we can start walking back some of this stuff. Like, let's see if total stars needed to be double or if it could still be an int. Because we'll never have 2.5 stars. So I prefer my model to have only be using ints. Because who knows what kind of bugs could pop up if, I don't know, I accidentally put a fraction in there.
Yeah.
While this compile, Brandon, do you find that C# views are more performant than SAML views? Because
good question.
If you are doing directly in code, everything at the end, it's code. So even if you are doing SAML.
So yeah, the easy answer is the UIs built in C# will always be more performant than UIs built in XAML. And that's just because XAML is interpreted at runtime, whereas C# has to be compiled ahead of time. And there's pros and cons to that. Like the pros for XAML is that you get XAML hot reload. Like right now, I don't get C# hot reload. But if you do your UI in XAML, you get XAML hot reload. And the reason for that is it was the lower hanging fruit. I want to call it a low hanging fruit because it was not easy for the team to implement. Don't crash. Didn't crash. Okay. All right.
Nice. Success.
So yeah, everything with XAML is, well, XAML is interpreted at runtime. Now, the XAML compiler helps. Like if you enable XAML C, and some of your XAML will be compiled ahead of time. And so you'll get that performance bump. But XAML C doesn't compile all the XAML. Like lots of the common stuff, like buttons and labels, I think are all compiled ahead of time. That's not a problem. But it's impossible to predict what will be used in XAML. So things that just, we'll say not everything gets compiled by XAML C. And so because of that, the same UI built in C# will always load faster. Now, how much faster are we talking? Well, back in the day before XAML C, actually when XAML C came out, I did a little experiment and I had a pretty simple content page that I created in XAML. And I just kind of put a timer on it. So like I had a button that said like load page. So I tapped the button, it would load the page, and I would see how long it would take for between like the button tap to on appearing to fire. And when I did that without XAML C in a XAML UI, it took about 300 milliseconds. Then when I turned on XAML C, that cut in half down to 150 milliseconds. Now, that performance boost you're going to get from XAML C is going to be different for every single page because it all depends on your layouts and how many views and how everything's structured. But XAML C will definitely give you a performance boost. It still will never be as fast as if the UI was in C#. But that being said, like, what's the difference between, hey, boom.
Hey, nice.
There we go.
Look at that. The Xamarin Community
Okay,
Toolkit.
we're done for today. Goodbye, guys. We can drop the mic now.
So it doesn't look great. I see some things right off the bat, like the timestamps down here are really, really tiny. And so, things like, I was going to show the other chart, but we can't because it's hard coded. But the other chart only goes back 2 weeks, where Xamarin Community Toolkit can go back. I mean, that's only a year. I wonder how back does GitTrends go? Ooh, look at those jumps. This must have been when we released it at the App Store, Luis. So that's going back about a year. I think async await best practices is a couple years old. So January 27. So yeah, there's a couple things I see here. Like when I'm looking at these dates, I don't care about the day. Like I don't care that this is January 14th.
Yeah.
In this case, I would care more that what year is this? What January? So we'll want to do things like add or tweak the timestamp to be month, year. I don't hate that we're still using this area chart where everything's filled in.
Yeah,
but
that looks nice.
I mean, we also haven't. I mean, we explored the Sync Fusion charts a little bit, and so maybe there's a better Sync Fusion chart we can pull out. We mocked up this date up here to change.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going to call this a win. I'm going to go ahead and
I think that's
commit some code here.
Yeah, good step.
Let's see. Discard that. Where else did I do that? Don't do this in XAML page. I don't want to commit that. We do want to keep the local day. We do want to keep the min value bigger. There we go. Protected. abstract classes should always have protected constructors. That's why I changed that. And then the star is what we made today. Cool. So we'll just say created.
Oh, you're using GitHub desktop. Nice. You haven't ever tried any other?
I love GitHub desktop.
It's
You've
great.
never tried any other IDE, like, GUI for handling the GitHub repos? Like Source Tree, or I think there's another one called like Kraken or something like that. People like a lot. Yeah, Git Kraken. I use Source Tree, but I've never used GitHub desktop. How is it? Like, how do you like it?
I mean, I love it. I haven't used Source Tree or Git Kraken. I've seen them. I like the idea of those. I don't know what you call them. Those charts where it shows you like
the branches on the side. Yeah.
But I will say, once your repo's been around for a while and you have a couple users and like that, those charts are really nice if it's like just me working on a repo. But like, for example, like this repo has had a dozen or so contributors to it. And so like its chart's going to start looking like this, and you kind of lose that value add after a while, because then it's just like, okay, that's just a bunch of lines and squiggles. But no, I mean, I like GitHub. I like the GitHub desktop. Things I like the most is for versioning. There we go. So this is the last release of the App Store back in August, and it gives me my tag. So when I create a release or a tag in GitHub, it'll show up here. And little things like when I publish to the App Store, I need to go back to wherever my last tag was to see what I did. And so like this next release, obviously we'll have the stars chart in the notes, but there's little things like, I don't even know what this one is. Device language metrics. Oh, that was App Center. Cause actually I was chatting with Luis and I was like, I wonder how many people are using the translated languages.
Oh,
and so,
yeah.
But so like when I go to release the App Store, I'll come through here and just flip through all the commits and be like, all right, what did I change? What did I change? Like some of these are just updating NuGet packages. Some of these are performance optimizations, but some are new features that we should tell people about.
Yeah.
So I really like that. It's also really easy to do things like, before you do
I like
a pull
how
request,
clean the design is as well. Like it's really straight to the point.
Yeah,
you have that many stuff cluttering the UI.
Like opening branches is really easy. You just say new branch, and then you tell it the main branch, or you got to go off. This is our star history UI branch, and then if I want to, like before I merge this back into main, then what I always like to do is merge main into my branch first.
Yep.
Get rid of all the merge conflicts, so I know when I run a pull request, it'll just work. We can do that really easily. So all of the basics are here, and I really like that. And only a couple times do I ever have to jump down into the command line. And I know there's folks out there that refuse to use a GUI, just period. And I'm going to come join you guys back in the chat. So I know there's some folks that are like, you should never use Git if you don't use the command line. I'm like, why?
Come on.
Like, do you really like typing -m quote, putting your commit message in?
Yeah.
Like, those are just repetitive, like those common things like committing, branching, merging, pull requests, fixing, merge conflicts. Like, why do you want to do that in the command line? I mean, you're more than welcome to. And if you learned it first in the command line, that is probably where you're most comfortable. But I always think about new developers, and particularly when I first learned something, how hard was it for me to learn it? And so, I'm teaching one of my good friends. His name's PJ Metz. He'll actually be speaking at a really cool conference coming up called Start Dev Change. That is all about new developers. So it's a Microsoft conference that's all about people who are just getting into tech. So maybe you are in school still, maybe you just graduated and got your first job in tech, or maybe like my buddy PJ, he's an English teacher. He's been teaching high school English for 10 years. And when the pandemic hit, we were chatting, just catching up one night, and I was like, he kind of mentioned that he's always wanted to learn to code, and I was like, hey man, I can teach you. And we've been hanging out every Saturday. We get together for 2-3 hours over Zoom, and we just code together. And he's speaking at Start Dev Change because he's completely changing his career. He's going from teaching high school English to hopefully one day getting a job as a full-time developer. And so,
wow, nice. And do you have the link to that conference so we can put it in the chat?
Let me type it in right now. Start Dev Change. Oh, I think it's .com. Let's see. Start Dev Change.
That's a really good topic for a conference to be around, because now with these times, a lot of people are wanting to go into tech as well, and there's always the part of the community it's not like the advanced and developers only. It's like there's those newcomers to all of the technologies, and commonly the beginner content is lacking sometimes. So yeah, those conferences focus on beginners are really good.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's so yeah, to answer your question with the GitHub desktop, when I was teaching him how to use Git, I just showed him GitHub desktop, and I told him like Git is originally a command line thing, and Git and GitHub are different, and we explained that. But I was like, but you know what, man? Like 98% of the Git stuff I do, GitHub desktop is more than enough. And so kind of let him know that there's gonna be a time where he's gonna have to jump down to the command line, but he's working on, he just spun up a GitHub account. He made his first website, pushed it to Azure, and he's the only one working on it. So it's not like he is going to have other contributors with PRs and merge conflicts and have to do rebases and forces,
or like hard resets and stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah, from teacher to developer. I love it, Ricardo. But yeah, check out Start Dev Change. It's not this upcoming week, but the following week. And there's all these cool things, like PJ's talk is all about let's see, if I remember correctly, the title is Confusion is the Sweat of Learning, meaning that we need to embrace that confusion. Like basically what we just did today, right? Like we wrote some code. We're like, no way this code is going to fail. We ran it and it failed. And you have two options, right? It's like, okay, well, we could give up and say, there's no way we could ever get this working. Or you can kind of start breaking it down step by step. Like we put some breakpoints in here. We figured out exactly what was happening. We commented out some lines of code, and you kind of start just narrowing down your focus until you get like, okay, it's right here. Oh, and then that convert to double ended up being a red herring, and it ended up being a date timestamp. Yeah, his whole thing is about how, as students, when we're in middle school, high school, elementary school, college, we're taught, we're groomed that failure's bad, that we should always be A students and we should always get hundreds on the tests. But in reality, in the real world, failure is such a good thing that we need to embrace, because it's when we fail that we learn. Yeah. And it's how you handle that failure and you overcome it is when you get to success. So without failure, you can't have success. And without failure, you can't learn anything. So Start Dev Change, check it out. Check out PJ Metz's talk on confusion. Highly recommend it. It's during the day, so you can turn it on, listen to it. Well, you're supposed to be in meetings. That's kind of my plan.
So yeah, we'll make sure to share this in the community social media as well. I'm seeing here that the date for it is going to be Thursday, October 15th. So yeah, guys, if you have any friends that are interested in learning, make sure to also share it with them. And I think for today, we're basically done because it's 7:54. We didn't get to see the theory part of the onboarding and empty states, but we can deal with that on next Friday. And on next Friday, we're going to be also working a bit more on implementing the mockup let me go back and just share briefly what we have so far for the mockup.
Yeah.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
looking good.
so far, this is what we created last Friday. We have our segmented control on the top. Here, I still want to do some updates to this component in the .xd project, because right now it's kind of hard to modify it. If you see, right now, I had an idea like, okay, we have to know which one is active at the moment, right? So it would be good to put like the background of it in this teal color to make it show like this is the one selected, right? But right now, since we made this component basically with a rectangle, and then we just put a line in the middle, I can edit them separately. So we can modify this in a way to make it like more modular. So I'll just use two rectangles and round their corners and put them together in the middle. And that way we can update the backgrounds individually. But we can do that next Friday. And yeah, next Friday, we're going to be talking about onboarding empty states. And we'll take the first 50 minutes to talk about that. And then we'll come back a little bit to the mockup, do 15 minutes there. And then we're going to have an hour and a half just to implement everything and continue working on the GitTrends app with Brandon. So thank you again for everyone for coming, always being present each Friday. What else do we have coming up besides the start dev change? Angel, is there any events coming up in the community?
Let's see. We have an event here in Spain for the Spanish people. So it's the Netcore Conf, where I will be sharing about clean architecture applied to Xamarin projects. So it'll be held tomorrow in the Spain time zone, beginning at 8 a.m.
Nice. I saw we also are going to have, I believe for the dotnet Dominicana community, we're also going to have a talk about Solid.
Yeah.
This month, which is going to be given by Claudio. And I believe he's going to be doing it in .NET. Yeah, right? Because
you better.
Dominicana. And yeah.
Doing Java.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Brandon, if you have anything else you wanted to share before we leave.
Yeah, I just dropped a link in the chat because I didn't. Jamie Singleton, our amazing community manager, just posted to the Xamarin blog all of the cool things that are coming up in October. So there's a bunch of community events listed, and probably the biggest thing that we're doing from Microsoft is .NET Conf 2020. So if you were able to attend it the last year, it'll be very similar. But what it is, it's totally free. It's a 3-day online conference or live stream event, whatever you want to call it. But what's going on this year, the focus will be on .NET 5. So all the goodies there will be, we'll say, then stable in .NET 5, because .NET 5 will be officially released by then. Yep. And maybe, I shouldn't tease that because it won't be ready yet. Because I was going to say, like, maybe we talk about some Maui stuff, but realistically, .NET 6, .NET Maui, probably not till early next year. So probably January, February. I mean, if you look at the repos, like they're all open source, and you can see like pull requests are flying in right now. So the team's still heavily working on implementing .NET 6 and .NET Maui. So
yeah, and it's still like, even though it's like beginning of next year, it's still a really quick release date. I think like it's not like we're saying, oh, we're gonna have to wait till 2022 to see this. It's like really quick. And that's something I like about the Xamarin team, that they have been like upping the release rate, right? And we're getting so much updates more frequently in our platform, which is something that I think is a different. Like it makes a big difference in terms of when you see other texts for cross-platform and yeah, for me, there's no one that can turn me like from Xamarin. Let's go to some of our competitors. I'm not gonna say the name because they're gonna close our channel.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just put the link to the roadmap of the Xamarin
Oh,
repo,
yeah.
so you can
Nice.
see in details all the stuff coming.
Yeah, really
All the
cool
good stuff.
stuff coming. Gradients, brush, the media elements. Yeah, a lot of goodies. Well, let's see the chat. Let's give the thanks for the follows today. I see we had a few follows coming during the week, which was Ahmed Del Sayed, Esel Rick, and Salazar Carlos. Thank you very much for following the community channel. It's really important for all of you to always keep in touch with all the social media so you can find out about upcoming events and just support the Twitch channel so we can continue doing this. And just if you have any topic you want to share, make sure to contact us, and you can either contact us personally or to the community social media, and we'll make the talk happen. And I see Ricardo asking a question. I think, okay, he says, I think the release times of Xamarin teams are for feedbacks of the community. As the community gives more feedback, the Xamarin team can know what is working or not. So yeah, I believe it's like that. Like, there's nothing really set in stone with the Xamarin, with what's coming up in the next release and like in the next releases for Xamarin. Since, as Brandon said, everything is open source, so the issues are there, and they gave us the opportunity as us as community members. Like if we start voting a lot in a specific feature, they'll shift the priority and give it importance for bringing it out. So yeah, that actually has happened. Yeah, that actually has happened. You remember, like I think last year, there was a specific thing we wanted, and everybody on Twitter just started voting and voting. Hey, and tagging people, and eventually David had to be like, "Okay, guys, we're working on this. Chill, it's gonna come." So yeah, that's something I really like about the Xamarin team as well. So yeah, I hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday and of the weekend, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you next Friday. Goodbye.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.